Hi, this is Lorraine, and I've been guided to do another video. If you'll give me a second to clear, center, and balance my energy, we'll get started. Okay, so at the end of my last video, there was a very clear vision that I was given that showed me what I would talk about the following week, which is today. And the vision was clearly representing multiple realities. The information that was being conveyed was explaining to me how those deviations from Dharma, from path and purpose, would manifest in this reality or manifest in this universe. So that has been called, I've heard terms like parallel realities or multiverse, and I think that's what those terms are trying to convey or express, is this idea of multiple realities. So I'm just going to do a really quick review of what I discussed last week about path, purpose, Dharma, deviations from that path, and that will preface talking about this idea of multiple realities, okay? So last week I talked about, I created this line that represented my birth, this now moment, and the end of my life. This could also represent the universe. So the birth of the universe, this now moment in the universe, and the end of this universe, this iteration of divinity, the creator of all things. Because what this universe, this reality is, can be perceived as the divine consciousness seeking to discover what it could possibly be. And that experience in and of itself is a lifetime for this divine consciousness. It's an iteration of its experience of what it could possibly be. Okay, just like each lifetime that we experience is an iteration of what we could possibly be. So if we look at this again, this is birth, the now moment, and the end, and let's just see this as my lifetime. I also talked about how this, if I walked my path that was intended for me by the divine consciousness, I would be walking this straight line with no resistance to the reality I'm existing in, and with that experience, it would be probably, in a perfect universe, a most beautiful experience, right? At least that's how I feel. Like if I was just moving with the flow of energy, doing exactly what I was intended to do in this life, everything would work out more fluently. There would not be so much resistance in my life. But sometimes I make choices that are not aligned with the divine plan, what I'm meant to do, what I agreed to do, what I desired to do in this life. And when that happens, I deviate. I deviate from this line, which I've called in the last video, Dharma or path and purpose, okay? So here I am, and I'm walking, and I'm deviating from this line, okay? From my path and purpose. And there are multiple times in my life where I've chosen to deviate from what I was meant to do, okay? So these can be really huge deviations. They can be minor deviations. It was my choice, okay? So yes, the divine consciousness had a plan. The divine consciousness intended, and I agreed, that I would do this thing that follows or these things that follow this black line, this straight black line. And I would have a really peaceful experience. But me being who I am, sometimes I have to do things a little differently. Sometimes I want to, push the envelope. And so each of these lines is going to represent possible realities. These are things I either did or I could have done in this lifetime. I didn't deviate too far off my path and purpose, but every now and then I hit it, right? I hit my path. I was on my path, right? Each one of these lines right here represents benchmarks in my life. So even though the divine consciousness allows me the opportunity to choose and deviate from my Dharma, from my path and purpose, right? There are certain things that I will do in this life, and these are called benchmarks. There's no deviating from that. In order for me to fulfill my obligations in this life, I will meet these benchmarks. Same thing in the universe, same thing on this world, okay? On this world and in the universe, there are benchmarks, there are things that must happen that the divine consciousness has willed to happen, and they will happen. And I think it was 2 videos ago I talked about Korean unification, the unification of the North Korea and South Korea. And that came in very strong. This is not a premonition. This is a fact. And it came in, and people will say that hasn't happened yet. How could it be a fact? It's premonition, it's prophecy, it's something, but it's not a fact because it hasn't happened yet. It's a fact because the divine consciousness has willed it as one of the benchmarks for this planet as part of its transcendence. As part of this transition. So regardless of the choices I make and the deviations I make in this life, I will always have to hit these benchmarks because that's the will of the divine. Same thing with this planet, same thing with this universe. We will always have to hit certain benchmarks. If we don't hit those benchmarks, we will have to repeat that cycle, okay? And so there are many cycles that we will experience. We have larger cycles, we have smaller cycles, okay? But if I do not meet this benchmark here, I will have to keep repeating this cycle until I fulfill this obligation. Same thing. All these benchmarks I meant to hit in my lifetime, I will have to meet that benchmark before I can fulfill my obligation to this experience. Okay? And so I'm repeating cycles. Same thing with the universe. Same thing with this planet. This planet is completing a huge cycle right now. It's massive. I don't even know, tens of thousands of years, maybe even millions of years, maybe even billions of years. It's huge. I can feel it in every part of my being. And you could say maybe Lemuria, maybe Atlantis, maybe all these civilizations that people believe have occurred or existed on this world were cycles, opportunities for Mother Earth to transcend. And since they did not fulfill their obligation, there was another cycle that was created. And humanity here is fulfilling that obligation. We humans on this world right now, what I do know, regardless of what happened in the past, different cultures, whatever, I know that present day humanity is transcending this planet. We are transcending this planet, and we have completed so many cycles. There have been so many cycles that we've had to repeat over and over and over again to get to this point. And it's super emotional right now. I'm trying to hold it together. But each one of these cycles right here is represented by a Torus. And that was the vision I had. They were showing me this vision, and all of a sudden I saw this Torus. But it wasn't just one. They were all overlaying each other. Overlaying. And I could not find a graphic that really demonstrated that. I spent all week trying to find visuals. And I found a bunch of videos that I could use. So I'm going to try to use those right now to help show you what I mean. But what came through very clearly is we repeat cycles in order to meet these benchmarks. We have to keep repeating cycles until we reach these benchmarks, fulfill these obligations that have been willed by the divine consciousness. We can deviate from this path of Dharma however we choose, whenever we choose. That is our choice. We do have a choice. These deviations allow the divine consciousness to see itself from a different perspective. When divinity begins manifesting this reality, this universe, it has a vision of what it could possibly be. That's represented by this line right here, this black line right here in the middle, straight across. But we perceive ourselves as separate from the divine consciousness. We perceive ourselves as individual, not part of that divine consciousness. And in doing so, we start to perceive things from a different perspective in this dual universe. And when we do that, when we start seeing ourselves from a different perspective, we start seeing different possibilities. And each one of these colored lines represent all those different possibilities. And the divine consciousness allows us to have these experiences because these experiences allow it to see itself from an even greater, more deeper perspective. This blue line, this pink line, this orange line, red, all of them, they are greater depth and breadth than what the divine consciousness originally perceived itself as possibly being. We have taken that perception to the next level. But in the end, what's been communicated to me is the divine consciousness is rooted in unconditional love. Its homeostatic state, when it's in its I am state, when it is not trying to consider what it could possibly be, when it is just existence, it is unconditional love. It defines itself as unconditional love. And because of that, we are all rooted in unconditional love. And our journey, this journey, takes us back to that root, to that divine self. But we are exploring all the things we can possibly be, because at our root, we are divinity, we are unity, we are one. We are not separate. That is a construct that has been created for this 3D level of consciousness. And it allows the divine consciousness to see itself in a way that it even couldn't conceive as divine. It had to separate itself from that divine consciousness to explore what it could possibly be. But once again, we will always return to unconditional love because that is our homeostatic state. That is who we are at the root. Regardless of how depraved and unbalanced this world seems, we all are rooted in unconditional love. So each one of these lines here is represented by a Torus. Each possible reality is represented by a Torus. I'm going to do another one for the future. From this now moment, we have the straight line, which is our Dharma, our path and purpose. And then we have all these different opportunities, all these different choices we could make. So we have from this now moment to the end, whether it be this life or the universe, we have all these possible choices we can make. We have our Dharma, which is the black line. We have all these possible realities, choices that we could make, which would deviate from our Dharma, right? And then we have our benchmarks, okay? Each one of these lines represents a torus. We still, in our future choices, we have certain benchmarks that we are meant to hit. Okay? We have certain things that need to be done, either whether it be in our individual life, whether it be on this world, or whether it be in this universe. There are benchmarks. There are things that have been willed by the divine consciousness that are meant to occur. Each one of these choices that we make, these decisions that deviate us from this Dharma, create a possible reality. Even though we are provided the opportunities to deviate from our path, from our Dharma, we still need to meet these benchmarks. If we don't meet these benchmarks, we will have to repeat these cycles until we achieve the benchmark. And I think a really good example of this would be relationships and dating. Someone who keeps trying to date different people, but they end up with the same type of guy, right? Or the same type of woman. They're looking for a healthy relationship, but they end up always in a toxic relationship. It may be different. Each relationship may be a little different. The toxicity may be a little different, but it's always a toxic, unhealthy relationship. It's because you haven't worked out whatever you needed to work out in this cycle to meet this benchmark, so that you can move to the next phase. So you're going to keep repeating that cycle and dating that same type of person until you do the work necessary to break you out of that repetitive behavior. Okay? And so that's the best example I can come up with in this moment right now, to demonstrate repeating cycles within a lifetime. Okay, if we want to think about this planet and repeating cycles, you can think about all the past cultures, Lemuria, Atlantis, any of these. And I've actually had visions of ancient civilizations that were here at the beginning of Mother Earth, when she first came alive with life. And I don't ever remember reading about them or hearing about them. I don't know how to title them or label them, so I won't. But it was very grounded in earth, very rudimentary, but high functioning. Nevertheless, there have been multiple civilizations on this world that have failed, okay? And so this world, its beings had to keep repeating cycles until the humans or the beings on this world got to a point where they were ready to transcend to the next level of consciousness. And right now, on this world, that's where we're at. We are transcending to the next level, okay? And so all of these cycles that we've repeated and are represented by Toruses. In this vision that I had, all the Toruses were overlaying each other. And I have some graphics. I'm going to try to use to demonstrate it. I will do picture in picture also, but it was really hard for me to try to explain it, and I'm a very visual person, so I felt like finding some graphics would be the best way to do it. I found a video. That's where I did a screenshot of this. I thought it really demonstrated what I was trying to share with you. So if we have this torus, and I'll do a picture in picture also, and we have each line, there are multiple lines in this torus. If you think about each one of these lines right here, I don't know if you can see this line, representing a lifetime, okay? Representing a deviation from path and purpose, representing a choice to deviate, okay? Each one of these lines is a torus overlaid. Now, if you think, so each one of these lines is a choice, a lifetime, however you want to look at it. If you look at these white points right here, these white points on the graphics, these all represent intersections in the graph I just drew for you. So, if we're looking at this, again, each place where these lines meet, this red and blue line meet here, this red and pink line meet here, this orange and pink line meet here. All these intersections where these lines cross, same thing here, there are multiple places where all these lines cross. Okay, each spot where these lines touch are represented in these intersecting points in these toruses. So all of these toruses are overlaying each other. Okay, and each torus represents a different choice. It represents a different lifetime. It represents a different experience, each one. So each one of these lines is a different reality, a different experience that comes out of that deviation, that choice that you made not to follow your path, not to follow the intended direction of that life, not following that Dharma, that line of Dharma. Okay? If I had a very cozy, comfortable experience and chose to follow my Dharma, my path and purpose, my life would exist of this one torus, right? This one spinning torus. Everything's smooth and happy and no friction, no resistance, right? But when we start to deviate, which is good, this experience is about this life, this journey is about experience. When we start to deviate, we create all these different realities. Each one of these cross sections is a deviation in our reality, and that's exactly what was shown to me. And it's very hard for me to explain it, so I'm trying so hard to show you visually what that represents, but or what that means. But each cross section, each line here, okay, each line in this video is a lifetime, is a deviation, okay? And then each cross section represents where those deviations intersect. And those deviations intersecting is what people might call shifting timelines. Okay, when people say, oh, set your intention, change your reality, shift timelines. That would be done in one of these cross sections, right? That's what those cross sections represent. Shifting timelines. Shifting timelines. Okay. So I also liked this graphic because it showed the toruses from above. You could see how they all cross over one another, and you can see the cross sections here where the realities intersect. Okay, all the realities are intersecting at the cross sections. Okay, and so if these are the spots, like I said, where people are saying or feel like they can shift timelines. Okay, is at these intersections. And so I'm going to be showing the video throughout this video. It'll be in picture while I'm talking, but I think the video itself represents the complexity and the beauty and the grace of our existence, or this idea of multiverses. There are no parallel realities because those realities will never meet. The truth of the matter is, our existence is fluid and changing at every moment. And the graphic that I'm going to be playing the graphic I'm going to be showing, or in picture, will demonstrate that movement, that fluidity of that movement, and how those intersections and changes occur with intent. Everything we do, everything that happens, is rooted in our intention, in what we're trying to achieve. Okay? We have a choice in what we're doing. Yes, we have a path. Yes, we have something we are meant to do. We have Dharma. We have decided that there are certain things we are going to do. But we can deviate from that. We can have different experiences. But in the end, we are meant to return to our homeostatic state, which is unconditional love. And we are driven to return to that place. Okay? And once we understand what we're here to do, how we're meant to do it, what our tools are, what our obligations are. Once we understand all of these things, we are empowered by our intention to achieve those goals. There's nothing random happening. There's always an intention. There's always an intention behind what we're doing. And that's what creates the force that manifests the reality that we exist within. Okay? And understanding these processes, understanding path and purpose, understanding Dharma, understanding what it means to deviate from what we're intended to do, and understanding the consequences of that, and understanding how that works, and how we have the tools that we need to write us on our path. That knowledge gives us what we need to drive forward to manifest the reality that we seek. The love, the joy, the hope, the peace, all those things. Okay? And every time, the whole time I'm talking about this, I keep on seeing those toruses, I keep on seeing those overlapping toruses and those intersections where they cross. And so what's coming in as I'm sitting here and I'm seeing all those intersections cross, what I'm being shown is those intersections collapsing on one another. And so all those intersections are collapsing, those deviations are collapsing, and this torus is simplifying itself as just one wave, one cycle, one fluid movement. And to me that speaks to us aligning. So if each torus overlying one another represents different choices by different people, creating these complex realities. And I'll try to find a graphic to demonstrate that, but if all these different choices which move us out of alignment create these really complex toruses and complex realities and a complex existence, what they're showing me is all of those toruses coming into alignment and again making one fluent movement. So that's what they're showing me. They're showing me humanity moving into alignment and creating one fluid movement together to create the world that we want and the healing that we want. Okay? So give me just a minute. I think that's it. I hope that made sense. It came in so quickly and so simply, but I hope I was able to convey that information in a way that made sense. It was super important. I kept on meditating and channeling and seeing if anything else came in, and there just that one thing all week just kept coming in really strong. Just like the Korean unification of North and South Korea came in so strong. It was just the only thing coming in. And so it felt very important. And I hope I honored that message. I hope that you are able to utilize the information that will help you expand your perception of this reality, this existence, these moments right now, what we're going through, and will help you grow and fortify your path, your purpose, your journey. I hope for that so deeply. Okay, thank you.